Hi, good morning, everyone. Got a large group here and everyone's getting in, so we will start momentarily as these last attendees get logged in here. But thanks for joining and looking forward to sharing some great information with you starting in a few minutes. And by a few minutes, I actually meant a few seconds on that. So we'll go ahead and get underway here. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Guy Gaster. I serve as director of the North Carolina Film Office here within Visit NC and the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, and also am your monthly partner webinar host. So excited to have some of our staff here with Emily Pickett. And then Susan Dosier will also be joining to share information about a new area, and Google profiles and how these these can be a true PR and marketing toolkit and tool, and something you definitely want to make sure you're keeping up with. But first, I want to give a very high level Visit NC update as it is that time with our quarterly update time. So again, Guy, Emily, and Susan joining you today. So the current year-to-date tourism health status, as you can see, the visitor economy index, anything above the 0 point is positive. So year to date, we are showing a healthy tourism economy. This has been very positive for us. And again, you can see it is trending up at this time. Now, that said, I do want to share some of the latest lodging data. You will notice that there are quite a bit of downs indicated here. However, room rates and revenue are up. And there is a little bit of positive on the horizon here. The hotel demand trend, you will see that nights sold are forecasted to continue to rise. So it does look like we are likely to have a healthy second half of the year here. And this is, a good indicator, the vacation rentals. And while I realize there's a big drop, as Marlise has shared with all of you, this is what is booked now looking ahead. So at the end of this chart, the October is what is already booked in vacation rentals for October of this year. And you'll see that with the dark green line, we are ahead of where we were last year. So now the big announcement that came earlier was earlier this month, the 25 visitor spending and market share. So here are some of the highlights. If you did not see the announcement, we hit a new record in visitor spending, $37.2 billion. That is a 1.3% increase from 24. Tax receipts also hit a record level with $2.7 billion in state and local tax receipts. Employment still isn't back to our pre-pandemic levels, but it did increase from the year over slightly. So we're now sitting there at nearly 231,000 jobs. And that is 4.9% below the record level of employment from 2019. So what does that mean? Where does that fall overall? Again, North Carolina remains a top tier U.S. destination. Domestic travel was down across the board, but North Carolina's overnight and out of state segments remain strong. I would be remiss, however, if I didn't say you've heard us tout in some of our recent conferences and events that we had risen to the 5th most visited state, despite our market share remaining fairly flat. We did drop to the 7th most visited state. So again, record spending. However, we did drop because we had some gains by some competition. So who was that? Again, California, Florida, Texas, New York, all pretty much remain in those top four spots as expected. But Pennsylvania did have growth. That was the state we had overtaken previously. And then Georgia had growth as well. So it's not we're not far off again from that 5 spot, but with the numbers, we are indeed there. And then I would want to show or mention that while they're not listed on this chart, that South Carolina and Virginia also had declines in their market share. So this area overall had a little bit of a downturn for the year. So if we look at the historical visitor related taxes generated, again, you can see that states' tax receipts rose 2% and local tax receipts grew 2.6%. And again, here's a look at where this falls in resident savings, tax savings as a result of those. So again, we're at savings per capita averaging $244. All right, on our marketing side, we do want to remind, as mentioned at the conference, we are back to our just one united campaign, if you will, and that is our For Real Visit North Carolina campaign. And on the left side of your screen, these are the key target markets for the state advertising based on the research and where we found the most opportunities for visitors to come from. A lot of this could expand if there are additional funds included as part of the ongoing budget negotiations. But these are our target markets as of now, and the types of travelers we continue to market to. You can see a little bit of the flight schedule for our ads and how that lays out through the year. This would be starting in July. All right, apologies as I get caught up here. So on the public relations front, having some great successes so far this year with 53 PR placements year to date. Our unique reach is at 1.2, still a very strong number. And individual counties covered so far, we're at 22 on that. PR has also been very active with some events as of late. Several FAMs have taken place within the state. We also had one of our media missions to a couple of cities within Texas, emerging market for us, the media marketplace at the conference, as well as the People Inc. Travel Summit. And I would be remiss, actually, the summer camp Reimagine is underway or just wrapped up, but we do have some additional FAMs coming up with Aeromexico. We'll also have the Chicago Media Mission, and then the IPW and PRSA conferences. On the film front, spending to date by productions, it sits at $175 million. We do have 2 fairly large productions taking place right now in the state, with a third independent feature also in the mix. And for those who have been following along or want to see where some of these productions that have previously shot, you can catch several of these now on various streaming platforms, including season 2 of Beast Games. The recently wrapped R.J. Decker series on ABC is now available on Hulu. Top Chef continues to shine a light on the state and is airing on Bravo and also available on Peacock. And then new projects coming out. Driver's Ed is an independent feature that debuted at the Toronto International Film Office. It comes out this Friday and is available in select theaters and on demand. And then we have a documentary feature with Kyle Larson and his attempt to race both the Coca-Cola 600 and the Indianapolis 500 in the same days. And this is been produced by Marquee Media out of Durham, who also did A Chef's Life and several other award-winning documentaries. For our partner in industry relations, similar to PR, definitely been out of the office and at a lot of events as of the first half of the year. For Outdoor NC, there was a pre-conference event held in Old Fort. They also just wrapped up their Outdoor NC Guide Summit at Raven Rock State Park. This was actually the largest guide summit to date. Sports NC, we just completed our ride with Cycle NC, the coastal ride there at Oriental. This was one of their largest coastal rides to date. And then, sorry, the World Cup should not say Raven Rock State Park. That would be amazing if the World Cup was held there. But there are preparations for the World Cup. As has been announced, several international teams will be basing their preparations in the state. And we even have a couple of warm-up games, if you will, or before the event that are taking place here in North Carolina. On the international front, there have been several, again, the first half of the year seems to be the events time. We've attended events with Travel USA's European mission. And this was a really cool setup. The picture kind of shows it, but the North Carolina exhibit highlighted dark skies tourism. So, really, really fun way to emerge those potential travelers and those tour operators about a unique aspect for North Carolina. There's also been the Brand USA Destination Immersion, as well as the Travel South USA Global Summit. And like PR, our international team will be at IPW, and then they are working with several others within the EDPNC and the Department of Commerce on an event in Germany coming up. And for partner and community relations within PIR, we have been active with the Department of Cultural and Natural Resources and the America 250 celebrations. So attended that kickoff for the state in historic Halifax, celebrating the Halifax Resolves. We've also had the travel shows, the South Florida show, Travel and Adventure show. As you can see, more than 8,000 consumers, travel agents, and partners came in. And then Retire NC went up to the greater DC area, Tyson's Corner. Again, this continues to be one of the larger shows with more than 800 leads generated as a result of from potential visitors and retirees. That is a quick look at our Visit NC update. I would pause momentarily to see if there are any questions on the update itself. Seeing none necessarily come in. You're free to continue to think of those and drop them into the chat or the question and answer feature here, and we'll have more time for questions as we continue forward. Now, very excited about this second half of the webinar as we talk about, again, Google business profiles and are diving into how to, I don't want to over promise here, but we're going to talk a little bit about how to start to wrap your arms around AI a little more and putting it in some simple terms. So first up, we have Emily Prickett with our Visit NC PR team, who is going to talk a little bit about AI reporting for your destination. Happy to have you, Emily, and take it away.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hey y'all, I just wanted to share a bit about what I've been learning about AI reporting and just from the PR side of things, how we can consider it. But honestly, AI is fed by all things, not just earned media coverage. And we will look into kind of what fuels those responses and how broad that reaches that can represent your destination. So I wanted to share some example prompts of how you can get a grasp on how your destination is represented through AI. And so how you can go about AI reporting is pretty straightforward. Now, how Visit NC is able to do it is we use Muckrack, and at a certain price level, you get a feature called a generative pulse report. But honestly, it does the same job that you could do yourself, which is, I think, is a great opportunity to do some research just hands-on, and it's very user-friendly. So all you have to do is go to any of the different AI tools. You could use Gemini, you could use Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT, and you can kind of get a feel about what AI is saying about your destination or your attraction or anything in particular. So you can use it to gauge brand perception and positioning. You could see what AI thinks that your destination is best for, or why somebody would choose your destination maybe over another destination. So this kind of goes into a competitive analysis lens where you could see where North Carolina, we use it as like if you're going to the southeast, where would you go for the best hiking or where would you go for the best food? And then we can kind of see how does North Carolina measure up compared to other destinations in the southeast. But you could change that for any parameters for your destination or your attraction. And so this can also be used to see kind of what audiences you're targeting. So you could see if a certain demographic is searching through the AI, since most AI engines are personalized, like they know who's using them, and so they tailor the answers to them. You can see, oh, like if it knows that they're looking for family travel, will it suggest us? Or if it knows they're looking for solo travel, will it suggest your destination? You can use prompts such as that. But you can also do it for not demographics, but maybe just like kind of what seasons people are looking to travel in. And then you can also go a little more deep into niche things about your destination. So if somebody is not just looking for like a general travel suggestion, but they're like, I want to see this one thing. Maybe your destination has like this one main pull. Typically, you can see what AI prompts people with to see if that would be your destination when they're looking for that one specific like hidden gem or unique experience. And then also it's a good way to gauge sentiment. So you could see if they say if it's worth visiting or if they say about pros and cons and they put that into the AI generator, what is it going to pull? Is it going to have resources maybe from your website or from earned coverage that are positive, or is it somehow pulling from somewhere else that might have some negative results? So overall, when you are reporting on how AI represents your destination, it's really nice just to check for the credibility and the accuracy of the information, because we all know you can't just trust AI off the cuff. You have to definitely check the results that you get. So seeing how accurate it sees your destination or your attraction, but then also just to see your visibility. Is your website the one that it's pulling information from? Is it earned coverage that you have gotten that it's pulling information from? Or maybe it's social media that you have influence over that it's pulling information from. So it helps to know how visible your information is that you're putting out there into the open. But then also it helps just to mitigate risk, because if you put a prompt out there and you get something that you don't want visitors to see about your destination, then it kind of raises that attention for you, so that way you know to kind of resolve that issue. So yes, now we're going to look at a little example for how Visitancy pops up in an AI report. So I asked, what is North Carolina best known for? And I put it into 3 different AI tools. So I put in Gemini, Copilot, and ChatGPT. And you will see there are 2 different sources of information that AI pulls from. So there's this learned knowledge that it has, which isn't live. It's not going out onto the internet and searching the web to get answers. It just has this information stored in its database. And so as you can see, Copilot and ChatGPT pulled from that database, that's stagnant, more less up-to-date information. That's what it pulled about North Carolina. But then you had Gemini, which pulled from specific sources, and you can actually see, I don't know if he hovers over it, if it'll show, but number 4, it referenced visitnc.com. So it's important to look at those sources when you are doing your reporting to see where it's pulling that information and to see how visible your resources actually are in fueling that AI response. Now, I dug a little more into one of those niche responses to see how Visit NC might influence the response or other sources. And so I used what hidden gems in North Carolina would locals recommend. And I just put it into Gemini since that one had given me a response last time that used sources. So I stuck with that to stay consistent in my reporting. And as you can see, it gave a lot of information. But again, we see that it quotes from Visit NC, so it pulls information from that source, which is good because ultimately you want to be the main source of information because you can trust that you are a reliable source. So that's always a green flag if you see that it is pulling from your website. But then also as you go down, I did not highlight these ones, but in that next number 2, it's actually referencing a Google business profile. And so this is a little tease for later on why those need to be so updated because Gemini is a Google product. So obviously it is going to prioritize and pull from its own information. So that is another way that you can see that it gets its data for these responses. And then also it pulls from Reddit. And another link is Facebook, and one of the ones down there, that's 7, is from YouTube. So social media is also a critical resource. Now, obviously, these are lots of different pools of information that it's coming from, but it's important to make sure that your messaging and your consistent key descriptors are the same across all your platforms, and that's why that's really important because AI trusts that more. So the more something pops up the same way, the more it feels like it can trust you. And so if it's popping up across all social medias and all of your websites and all of your business profiles, then it is more likely to trust that source and then use it to fuel its answer. And so that's how you can have a slight bit of control because obviously we can't control it, but you are able to have a little more control over what that AI is pulling for visitors when they look into your destination as a possible place to travel to. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. Feel free to use those prompts that we showed earlier to start reporting on how AI describes your destination and attractions. And yeah, I hope that was helpful.
All right,
Okay.
Emily, thank you so much. Yes, yes. Thank you, Susan, for being ready there. So great information and a great start. And Emily did allude to how a Google business profile was showing up. So we have asked Susan Dosier to join and talk a little bit about how these Google business profiles can impact some of the returns. And as someone who has actually done them and experienced it, be able to talk about ways that you can do it or you can advise your partners to do it to be successful, and just little tips, not major things, but things I think we're all going to find that we'll have some takeaways from here that we can all do, including myself, who will be looking at the North Carolina Film Office business profile and using some of these tips later this week. I do want to quickly remind everyone before Susan starts that we will have a copy of this deck available for you on the webinars page at visitnc.com. And that will have the prompts that Emily mentioned, as well as these great upcoming tips. So, Susan, I'm going to let you take it away. And she's so excited that we have to do the fun. Don't
I
forget to
act like a rookie. No
with
kidding.
that. No.
Okay, you're not going to believe this. I'm in a wonderful Holiday Inn Express in Wilkes County. I'm doing a board meeting right after this. a jackhammer started right outside my window after our website launch. So I'm hoping you don't hear that. If we do, what's a little jackhammer noise among friends? Let me share
All
my.
good as of now.
Maybe the jackhammer world will smile on me. Okay, so here is how. Oh, do I need to go to full screen, Guy, or is this view okay? Okay, so we are going to talk about making AI love you. Now, Google and AI are both still working together. Both are really important. And Emily's setup actually taught me some things we had practiced and talked about this earlier this week. But I didn't realize that AI would actually reference a Google business profile. So that's huge. Basically, the reason a PR person like me is caring about this is the moment I make a pitch and a journalist starts searching, whether they're in Google, Bing, or whatever, what you have in your Google business profile is going to make a difference on what they see. Back during my old LKM days when I was working with Visit and See through the agency, the first thing our website person did was set up their Google business profile before we even built a new website for a client. And that's still one of your most important tools. So let's get started and talk about how to make this work for you. And for some, oh, there we go. Okay. So we talked about when you are searching and you're doing searches like, what are restaurants near me? Like if you're in a different town, or pizza places near me, or cool things to do near me. If you end up, in the airport, you've got a layover and you're there. The Google Business Profile is the first thing the AI is going to look at to answer your question. You've seen those maps with all the clusters. It also helps that immediate answer for a traveler who is in your place and doesn't know your area right now. And y'all got to tell me if you see the difference in this, but there's so many more eyes that see your Google business profile than see your website. That has been true with a lot of analytics from my clients. And I'm very interested to hear if that's happening for you. Now, if there's somebody that's like, wait, what's a Google business profile? I am using my own example here, not because it's the most amazing example, but because it gives me a way to just talk about it, okay? So when you do your website search, your information comes up on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, this is your Google business profile. You can see I have one Google review. You're like, wow, Susan, I can't believe you're using this as an example. I'm going to tell you, y'all, I had not touched my Google business profile until I started talking about this for partners, because I began to see how important this was for partners to show up in search and that kind of thing. And then I realized, oh, the shoemaker has no shoes. So last week, I rehabbed my old Google business profile, and we'll talk about that. But you can also see like website directions, they can save it. You can actually use the Google business profile as a website link in your media itineraries and things like that. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. Okay, so how does Google decide if they like your Google business profile results in their local search? First of all, Emily said this very well about, are you consistent with your name? We'll talk about that even more. But does the Google business profile actually match the search questions? So as you're talking about like my Google business profile for the TDA or the visitor center or something like that, a consumer facing opportunity that you have, make sure that the words in your description, we'll talk about description shortly, match up with what a consumer might be looking for. I want to know, visitor search things. And if you don't know, use Google or Chrome or your AI to say, I'm a visitor center. What are the things that a person might search on, the phrases a person might use that I should have in my Google business profile? It is amazing the answers that the internet will give back to you. And then it will look and see if the person is searching, is this business or profile destination close to where I am actually standing? That means they've got their location settings on their phone are on. And then your reviews, activity, and engagement. I'm going to tell you real quickly, I have this whole thing that social media is like high school. Social media wants to go where all the cool kids are, and they recognize if you're a cool kid by whether you have likes, shares, follows. With this, it's reviews, activity, and engagement. And please don't say, Susan, stab me now. I cannot add one thing. I promise. It's so much easier to use this than Facebook. Okay, so basics. Your name. Now, we all think that we are good at doing our names. Well, we're not. Remember, as a TDA, you want your consumer-facing name. So like with my client, the Heart of North Carolina Visitors Bureau, they are the Randolph County TDA, but the Heart of North Carolina Visitors Center and Visitors Bureau, that's what's on their Google Business profile. And then Emily said this, I cannot emphasize this enough. There are partners that when I've been doing their media profiles, they have a different name in Google Business. They are a cafe on their website. On their Facebook page, they're a bakery. So get those names all consistent. Make sure the name, the correct address, the same phone number. Please don't use a mobile phone on one location and a real landline on another. Use the same phone number. And then your description, just make sure that the words that describe you, like for me, I'm marketing and PR firm, marketing and PR firm. I do a lot of other stuff too, but those are the two big things. So I went back and I even changed some stuff up on my social media so that everything was matching. Remember, we're talking to bots. And so the bots are going to do word searches and word correlations first. Okay. And then, oh, I know that you all, if we could all just wave a magic wand and our partners would put in their current hours, our lives would be so much better. But make sure that your hours are right. If your visitor center is open on Memorial Day, we've got so many holidays coming up right now, Memorial Day, July 4th, all those, make sure you're updating your profile with those things. Okay, now, after you got those basics, the most important decision you will make is your category. And you're like, well, Susan, how do I do this? Well, if you go into your profile, it'll just start prompting you. Google is so much more intuitive. I love them compared to some of our other social media platforms. And so there are 4,000 options that Google gives you. There is not a list of them anywhere. If you are confused about what option you might use, go into your Google Chrome and browser and just say, what do you think I should be? For TDAs, Municipal Tourism Organization is one, Visitor Center is one. If you're not sure, just think about what's your most important consumer-facing thing that you offer. Then you have an opportunity for secondary categories, and then you want to populate your services. And then if you've got clients or partners that have products and things like that, there's a way to do that. Not every single profile will prompt you to add services. They kind of look at you and then they add it in after that. Okay, I wanted to show you, this is, you have about, contact, you're loading your profile, and these are your categories. So for a TDA, you might say visitor center, if you are indeed a visitor center. You might even add marketing agency underneath that because by legislation, you are tasked with tourism marketing. You don't have to, you might get too many weird calls from people hitting you up. That might not be the right one for you. I was noticing some of our Western North Carolina partners, they're right near trails and trailheads and things like that. So maybe they even want to say hiking guide. You can put in all these keywords and just see what comes up. And no, you can put in one category and be done. But if you do want to get some action on some other levels, this is something to think about. Now, I was telling you how it will prompt you about, contact, location, hours, and then there's more. But wait, there's more. This is a place where it offers up to you like the transgender, safe space, LGBTQ. You can say yes or no, turn it on, off. Parking, so important. If someone has to pay to park in a deck near you, you can say that. There are things that you can select here, and then in the description, you need to talk more about parking. My mom had MS, and she was in a wheelchair for the last several years of her life. There were so many times we could not go into a business because they did not have handicapped accessible restrooms, and making sure, not just because someone said, yeah, but like measure the doors, make sure you are up to date to handicapped accessible standards. And you can Google what they are and figure it out. So really important things for people who want to come see you and maybe can't. Okay, so after you've gotten those basics, the next important thing is loading fresh photos. Okay, you guys, full confession. When I went in to rehab my Google Business Profile, first of all, I had to figure out what email was behind it because I had started it before I got my business email. I realized that there were things that the Google Business Profile was sending to me in that old email address, and I didn't have it forwarded into my current address. Horror show, I know, but if some of you had an intern a million years ago to set up your Google Business Profile, figure out what email is tied to that. Then it's super easy to go in to check. You want around 10 images, one new photo in a month. This is not horrible. We can do this. And then like a 30-second video. I was researching a local shop that had opened, and it had just a 30-second scan video, vertical video, or it could be horizontal, whatever. It was so helpful for me to see if that shop was going to be a good new destination. Okay, I looked at some of our partner photos. This is Visit Hendersonville. Shout out to them. They do a great job with their Google Business Profile. They did not pay me to say that. And they had some of the photos that they put in. You can see all latest, inside, by owner, and then other people can add. So all of their photos of their destination actually look really good. This is the building where their visitor center is. They also have some shots from local areas. Totally love the tight shot of the bear. I can't remember if that was from them or if it was user generated, but cool stuff. They show their brochures, they make it clear. One thing that might also be cool is to get a quick shot of someone actually helping a visitor and the visitor's willing to be in the photo. I will tell you that journalists and media sometimes do pull from your photo section on this. If they pull a traveler submitted photo, they'll credit them. If it's submitted from you, they'll also credit you. But just think about it. If there's a picture in here you don't like, delete it because it could be used. I also went to explore Asheville. I mean, let's be honest. All of us go look to see what Asheville does, to see if we can copy the expertise because they're a big leader in our market. And so one thing, they were tired the day they loaded the picture of their destination. So they might want to go back on another day and get some sunshine in there. All the rest of these were user generated. That's where we all want to be. And I'm just like, kudos to them. Okay. Now, the next thing is about those reviews. This is where we're in the high school scenario again. You want, when people are hitting your profile or hitting your business, actually, ask for people to do reviews. And there's a really cool trick that Google provided for that. I'll talk about that next. But AI loves positive reviews. Even if you are getting like a negative review, or if someone is asking you a question, the way you respond to that review can be very powerful. And if you respond with specifics, like they say, are you open? Say, we are open. And in fact, we have a really great place to park, and we're right beside the something something ice cream shop. Little things like that, Google loves it. Try and respond to your reviews within 48 hours. That's better than the time that the social media algorithms give you. And this phrase, use natural keywords and replies, it's kind of wonky. The point is talk like people talk when you're writing in your Google Business Profile. This is not the time for poetry. It's not the time for long run-on sentences, short active verbs, the way people talk. Okay, now here's the fun thing I found out about reviews. So I can't remember if this was prompted to me when I was actually figuring out my Google Business Profile or if I did the search on this. But if you search, how do I get customers to respond and give me reviews on my profile, it'll generate this great little QR code for you. I'm seeing it at lots of restaurants. They're putting it on their front desk, where you pay. If you're in a visitor center, this is an incredible opportunity for you to get feedback because you've just likely helped somebody, and you may have helped them get a hotel room. You may have told them the best restaurant to go to, and they love that, and they're willing to share. When people are giving you, if they're sharing photos, that kind of thing. Anyway, don't be asleep on asking people for reviews. We talked about writing like people are actually searching. If you're close to an iconic destination, like especially just think about people maybe, if they are close to the North Carolina Zoo, I'll use that client as an example. What's near the North Carolina Zoo? Where's a place to eat near the North Carolina Zoo? What are things to do near the North Carolina Zoo? You want to make sure in your description, and I'll show you the description in just a second, that you're answering a few of the visitor top questions. Some of those prompts Emily had are good fodder for you to start thinking about, what should I really put in my Google business profile? Talk about what you're known for. That's where Emily was talking about the hidden gem. And just think about, like, what would I want to know? If you want to test, go into another town and just see, like, what do I end up asking for? I need to be answering that question in my own destination. So in the description, as we're still in the about section, you're filling out your Google business profile. I apologize to you that I'm using my own things as an example. You know, all speakers would say, oh, never do that. But this is the only way I could show you and get into the guts of it and show you. So just very direct. AI especially is very fact oriented. No flowery language. Boom, boom, boom. You know, who, what, when, where. Get out the old journalism stuff, a list of services, that kind of thing. This is where you put in the additional stuff about what your destination is known for, the municipalities you give travel information about, the helpful hints. Think about what the core thing you do is, and think about your elevator speech when you're talking to partners. Here's what we do for you. Make sure that translates in normal language in this description. Now, as Google and AI are searching around, they might pay attention. Somebody may say, I'd like to know what the woman-owned businesses are. I'd like to know what the veteran-led businesses are, Hispanic, Black-owned. All of those kinds of things are prompted as you're working through your profile. You don't even have to remember to say these things. So those are prompts. Answer those. We talked about wheelchair and accessibility of all kinds. Make sure on the coast in sandy areas, even a 3-inch change of incline can be a block for a wheelchair, an electric wheelchair. If you've got paved parking lots, that's also a thing. Just prepare people for decks. Parking is around the corner. Overflow parking is here. Oh, sorry, I goofed that. Free Wi-Fi, family or pet friendly. This is really important. If you have a partner that's an amusement park or a place where people go for fun, you know, pop in those height requirements. No kids under the age of this. We love kids over this. Pet friendly. If you're a brewery, is the pet outside only? Can you bring them in? Do you allow service dogs? All those kinds of things can go into your descriptions or into bring it into your reviews and into your Google post. Okay, Google post. Y'all, I really had not even paid attention to this. And you're going to say, Susan, stab me. I don't want another social media feed to monitor, but this is so much easier. If you can post once a week, every single TDA, every single entity listening to this, you know 4 things that you want to draw attention to over the course of the next month. You may have a media placement. You can make a media placement a post. And you can schedule 4 once a week. In like, it'll take you less than 15 minutes. You know what you're pushing. Always use a call to action on these. Sorry, CTA, I was using the lingo there, but a call to action. Book now, join us for this event, buy tickets, book at this restaurant. Let us know what your favorite barbecue in X county is, maybe Lexington people. And what this does is it signals to Google that you are alive and kicking, that you have not been a deadbeat like I was with my Google business profile for several years. You also have an opportunity to key in and the profiles that you want them to see that are tied in. YouTube can also be one of them, the places where you've got great additional information. Now, as you're tracking, is it worth your time to do this? You definitely want to know. Now, those of you who are running Google ad campaigns already know about UTM tracking. That's crazy words for do I know where this link was picked up first? If you want to put UTM tracking on your website link in your Google Business Profile, you can. And then when people hit your website, you can say, Google Business Profile sent them. I will give you a hint. Google Business Profile also emails you how many times people have gone to your site from there. So if this is gross and you don't want to do it, you don't have to. If you do want to do it, you can literally Google, how do I do a UTM tracking link for my website? And it'll give you the steps, and there's a place where it comes up and you can do it. Like I said, they will email you with your website analytics, and I guarantee you, if you have a Google Business Profile that is delivering less traffic than your site, I want you to call me. A few mistakes that we can make, so avoid these: wrong primary category, outdated hours, the bane of everyone's life, old icky photos with old dates, you haven't paid attention to your reviews, and you don't have any posts. Now, quick wins that you can make today. You can improve in about, if you have your email behind your thing, you can do this, guys. It took me definitely less than an hour to just kind of get mine up and running. Just telling you. All right, now here's the opportunity, the marketing opportunity for you as tourism leaders to be the hero. You have got to get your partners seen on AI. And that role is theirs. So there's a few ways to do that. One, when you have an opportunity in your partner emails, share this information with them. I think there's a YouTube link to this. If I've made sense to you, you could use that. You can record your own workshop and lesson for them. Put that into your partner communication. If you've got a Facebook group, share with them, help them know. Because the big thing is, it's not just Google anymore, it's AI as well. And the numbers of travelers using AI for travel planning, it's continuing to rise. The other thing I'm noodling about is there an opportunity for TDAs to literally take their top 10 partners, I don't know, whatever you've got bandwidth, start with 5, and sit down with them. You can do it on a Zoom, share the screens, and fill out their Google Business Profiles with them so that they're good and strong. This is especially for some of you who are pushing arts and craft people. A lot of them are so, they're into their work, and doing this kind of stuff is not what they are good at. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to be the hero and to be what you need to be for your partners here. If you've got feedback, I would love to hear from you. I will not be able to respond today. I will invite you to the Carolina Museum of the Marine grand opening in Jacksonville on June 8th. We're working on their Google Business Profile right now so that when they can finally turn everything on, it's going to be amazing. And we've got a tourism opening for director in Wilkes County. And if y'all know of anybody, and so it just gives you a chance. And then just a shout out to my dear friends at the Heart of North Carolina Visitors Bureau. Okay.
Susan, before you stop sharing, do you mind going back to the quick wins slide?
Yes.
Oops, yep, there we go. Let's leave that up just for a second. People can screen grab or take a note, but
Yes.
those, but definitely some things that, as you mentioned, could be done right after this, possibly. So there are a few questions that have come in, and again, as we start answering some of these, if there are others, please feel free to drop them into the chat or the Q&A function. But the first question was, if a business or I guess an attraction does not have a true location, are there any recommendations on what to put if you're creating a business profile for that?
I'm trying to think what wouldn't have a location. Like for me, I work out of my home. So I do have to use my home address as the Google business profile. And Google, comes by and takes pictures. And right now, I think the current one has a bunch of trees in front of my house. You can't even see my house. So I'm noodling whether or not I would just want to leave that. Because I don't really want people coming to my house. I do my business meetings and things like that. If you're remote or something like that, you do at some point have to put in some kind of address, or they're not gonna let your profile go live.
And full disclosure, neither Susan or I are claiming to be Google trained experts here on that. But do you know, Susan, if you could possibly use like Google Maps and do a latitude and longitude, for example, Sliding Rock Falls may not have
Oh,
a
oh,
true address, but could you do something like that, do you think, or do a nearby location?
I think that is a brilliant question. You know what I would do? I would go into Gemini, on your Chrome and do AI mode and then do deep dive. It gives you that. And also with your paid, if you are using paid AI chat, GPT, all that kind of thing, you're going to get more current information than if you're using the free. And I would actually say, I work with Sliding Rock Falls. I am a marketing organization, and we want to do a Google business profile for Sliding Rock Falls in this town, North Carolina. We don't have an actual address. Now, you might be able to use the nearest parking lot address
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
the I bet there's a parking lot address. I don't know. And what you might do, you might be able to work with your municipal officials to get an actual address. I know that's probably like 10 times more work than anybody can add right now. But I would see what Google says back to you.
With that. Okay. Pictures, you mentioned those, and we've all seen user generated images come in. Obviously, we can control our own. Excuse me. Did you allude, can can you from your own Google business profile delete a picture that maybe was user generated content?
My understanding is that you can. It
Okay.
may have changed, and I have not had a situation in recent history where I've had to make that decision. But uh, I think that you can. And again, if you're not sure, because things are changing in real time, just Google and see. If things are to the point where you can't, and it's come in and been submitted through a review, I would say, wow, you didn't get us on our cutest day here, but usually this destination looks like da 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 da. And you can do it there. The other thing you can do too is if somebody's come in with something that's just yucky and you can't get rid of it, I mean, if you genuinely know that they caught it on a bad day, make one of your Google posts about it and use one of your gorgeous pictures and play up the benefits of that.
Well, great advice. Um, let's talk real quick on some of the flexibility that Google does offer, and particularly seasonality. And so how often can you change what your profile description may be and or those scheduled posts?
I'm
Yes.
so happy you asked that. Okay, I'm going to use a partner example. There's two. So, like, one of our partners in Wilkes County is a flower farm. And in spring, they position themselves on their Google profile as a flower market because they actually let people choose and cut the flowers. And the market part shows that they're for sale. If they had just said flower farm, that flower farm could be their secondary
Mhm.
category, but so that's really important. And so they actually change now during some months when they are not open, like in the winter and there are no flowers growing. they changed to Flower Farm. I've noticed with Kersey Valley Attractions in the heart of North Carolina, right on the Randolph County and Greensboro or Guilford County border, they have different Google business profiles set up by season. So right now, Kersey Valley Attractions is their most active Google business profile because it's open all year round. They have a separate one for Kersey Valley Spooky Woods, and then they have a separate one for Kersey Valley Christmas. So depending on how large you are, and I have not had to set up for a client like a multi thing like that, but again, go into Google and ask, my destination changes, what it actually is and brand names. How do I work on this? It gives you some very, very good answers. With agritourism businesses, like for instance, Millstone Creek Orchards in Ramseur, North Carolina, it has pumpkin patches in fall, it has berry picking and photo sessions in spring, and then in winter they have Christmas stuff. So my advice there is to make sure you've got your core business in your description in a few sentences, and then go in and update your business description, that 250 word description part, by season, or keep your business description part a little more general with the parking and the things that don't change, and then blow it out on your post with the seasonal messaging. I'm still fiddling around with that a little bit for
Right.
partners about changing the description. But maybe your description says in spring we're this, in fall we're this, in Christmas we're this. It doesn't take a lot of words, hopefully, to say that.
Okay. So a different question, going back to photos. If you relocate, or if a business, has a new storefront, or again, you can delete those old photos,
You sure can.
correct? So that your post and the photos that are now available would just be reflecting your most current location.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Did I delete some of my 2019 photos out of my profile? You betcha I did. And also, one of the things is as you move, we have a new location in your Google post, like the social media part, and show that new location. Make sure that you're loading your new photos in. It doesn't have to be professional photographer. You can get such a great shot of your business storefront. You can get that great 30-second scan on your phone. And I mean, you can even load to Google, I mean, to the Google business profile and your social media just straight from your phone. And again, make sure that the business name, if you have changed your business name with a move, or if your signs are different, make sure if the sign and the name and the photo, like that, it is all consistent. The bot can just not cope with that.
Great tip. One other I do want to highlight, because you mentioned it, that I think is a great quick win as well, or thing to consider, especially for the individual businesses, is talking about your proximity to other businesses or to other attractions. Because that does, as you alluded, it seems that Google is pulling a lot of that information. Again, where to eat near the zoo, or if you're going to a concert, what is near, where to eat near a concert venue. So
Yeah.
yeah, so would you say that a good tip would be for a business, if you are in proximity to those, to include that in your description as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You- Google doesn't know things about you unless you tell it. I mean, that's kind of the good thing in a way. And so just think about your service, like think about when you're talking to a journalist who's in your town and the little notes that you put in the itinerary. Those kinds of tips can be social posts for you across all of your social media platforms. And they can also be some of the things, if you have room, that are in your description. So just think of, you're talking to Google like you're talking to your friend from out of state who's coming to visit and hasn't ever even been to North Carolina before.
Okay. We got one in, and this is a great question. And I apologize because I may be paraphrasing, but well, I'll read it straight, but I think, and then say what I think maybe the ask is. Can lodging update their hotel details? Previously, Google wrote it. It would be advantageous to write our own. So I maybe what's being pulled is the AI if you're searching for that lodging. And so based on what we've said today, the AI is pulling from what other information is there. So possibly would the best advice be to make sure you're writing yours on your Google profile and that will start to help auto populate what Google spits back out to someone else who's looking for that.
Right. Okay. First of all, the first thing when you are looking at your Google Business Profile, even if you haven't claimed your profile, there will be a profile up because Google is that proactive about serving their user. So the first thing you got to do, it'll say, do you own this business? You click yes, and you're like, heck yeah, I own this business. And then you start filling out the prompts. That's what's, if you're facing your computer screen on a desktop or laptop, that's what's on the right. Now, what is on the right will influence the content that AI and Google and all of that writes on the left. Like you just said, the way to change that is to get the accurate information in your Google Business Profile, and you can change that. AI does not write, or Google does not write your Google Business Profile, you do. And then based on reviews and all those other things on the left-hand side of the screen, AI results and or Google results will kind of kick in. So if you're getting things out on the generated part that you don't like, the main thing that you need to do is to go in and make sure you're consistent across every single platform. The getting consistent takes a lot more time than it takes to get your Google Business Profile up. I mean, it took me, I I was rewriting a bunch of stuff once I realized.
Sure.
Yeah. And so
Right.
that would be my advice. And if that doesn't work, third-party media stories and blogs are scanned by Google. So I would work on, has your local newspaper covered an event at your hotel and seen it? Just try and get those mentions. So if that person wants to email me for more info, we can go back and forth on that.
Okay. Great. No, that's awesome. So, all right, we're running up here on the hour. Maybe have time for one or two more questions. I do want to quickly give an update. We will be taking the month of June off from the webinars, so no partner webinar coming up in June. However, we resume back in July, where we'll be talking about working with NC Byways and ways to attract visitors who are using those and why you may want to look into tapping into those even if you're not located on a physical byway. And then very exciting part, we are getting ready to launch a new research dashboard within the industry site at visitnc.com. So Marlise Taylor and her team will be joining to give a little bit of an overview of the dashboard, a preview, if you will, and let you know what things you will be able to do once you're in there. So again, hope you are able to join on July 9th, and we will miss you in June. So on that. All right, last call for questions. I guess I want to ask one to you, Susan, on how do you know how early you could schedule posts? We've talked a little bit about seasonality and people's time, especially as a DMO. Can you go ahead and schedule and or even do your hours if you know what it's going to be, let's say around the holiday season? Or does it have to be within a specific window that's closer to the date?
I haven't fooled around with scheduling way far out. On hours, it gives you the email prompt usually within a couple of days of the holiday. Um, You know what? That's worth checking out.
Okay.
Once again, I'd go ahead, ask Google, how far out can I schedule? I know on the social media, I'm pretty sure, I think I scheduled an entire month out on the Google post. I wouldn't do a ton more because you never know in this crazy world, like if somebody will have driven through your storefront or whatever, but and you'll forget. But that's a horrible thing to say. But anyway, um on hours, just try it and see. If it doesn't let you, it doesn't let you. And then just Google and say, how far out can I schedule?
On that. Okay. That no problem there.
I'm still learning too. And
Yeah,
we're all
we all are. We all
together.
are.
We are all in this
Excellent.
together.
I will say one last thing. This is something that the Visitancy has been talking with Google on more. And I would expect us probably in the near future to have possibly someone from Google coming and talking with partners as well, doing a special webinar to further elaborate. But we also thought it would be really good to have someone like Susan who has been actively doing it to tell you what their experience has been and how easy it has been to do it, as well as some things that may trip you up. So I really appreciate you joining us, Susan, and sharing the information. And I think everyone on this webinar probably found one or two things that they can certainly use and activate within the next day to week on that. So thank you so much for joining us. Thanks also to Emily. This was a little bit of bittersweet having Emily. Today is her last day with the Visit NC team, but really appreciate her bringing that expertise and adding to this conversation. And we wish Emily the best of luck as she goes back to school to get a master's and pursue a career in education for that. Again, thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again in July and wishing you all the best this week and as you continue on. Thanks, everyone.
Thank y'all.
Bye, guys.